Yo, Shortbox Nation, hello again. Welcome back, and thanks for pressing play. And if you're brand new, welcome to the show. My name is Bodder, and this is the Shortbox Podcast, the comic book talk show that brings you the best conversations about your favorite comics with the creators that put their blood, sweat, and tears into making them. This is episode 470, and today I'm joined by 3 times Eisner Nominated comic creator, 4 times if you count anthologies for the record, Kyle Starks, who is another one of these slash people in comics. All right, Kyle Starks is a writer slash artist. He's best known as the longest tenured writer and occasional artist for Oni Press's Rick and Morty comic series and the hit series Peacemaker Tries Hard for DC Comics. He also worked on Skybound's Assassination with Erica Henderson and 6 Sidekicks, a Trigger Keaton with Chris Schweizer. And in my opinion, Kyle Starks writes some of the best humor and comedy in comics today, but you don't have to take my word for it, because he's got the Eisner nominations to prove it. He was nominated for Eisners for comics like Sex Castle, Rock Candy Mountain, and I Hate This Place for the best humor publication. And it's safe to say Kyle is still active in these comic streets. Right, and Kyle is still in these comic streets. All right, he's very active at creating new comics. He just wrapped up a short 4-issue crime miniseries for Dark Horse this year. It was called Those Not Afraid. And he's got 2 new projects coming out later this year. The first one is a brand new dark horror series called The Devil on My Shoulder, which is due to come out through Dark Horse Comics in November. And the second project is a Kickstarter campaign to print the 3rd volume of his award-winning series, Where the Monsters Lie, which is a Bram Stoker is one of those Stoker nominated comic series about the gated communities that slasher monsters go to between their sprees. It's fantastic. I'm currently reading the 1st volume in anticipation of the 3rd volume, and it's incredible. We'll get into talking about that, and that's why Kyle is on the podcast to talk about these new projects, what else he's got going on. We'll probably talk about how he got started in the industry, and probably a whole lot more. But before we get started, I want to dedicate this episode to all of the Shortbox patronies, aka the Shortbox Patreon community. Big shout out to all the loyal supporters and patrons of the show. You know it means the world to me to have backers and supporters like you guys. And for those of you that don't even know about the Patreon, well, guess what? You can join the ranks of our esteemed Patreon community at patreon.com/theshortbox. You'll get access to commercial-free episodes, extra bonus shows, and free comics and Shortbox merch depending on the tier you sign up for. It's really affordable. Give it a check out. Once again, support the show, get rewarded, and have my undying gratitude by signing up at patreon.com/theshortbox. And without further ado, Shortbox Nation, let's welcome Kyle Starks to the show. What up, Kyle? How you doing?
What's going on? Oh, they're clapping for me. That's nice. Thanks, guys. Thanks for the applause. I appreciate that.
We have Dr. Kyle Starks, Comics PhD, on the podcast. Damn right they better clap.
That's right. Don't check my transcripts.
Don't ask
fact check that.
for the degree. Yeah, don't ask for the paper degree. All right? We got to keep it moving. Kyle, I was today years old. Just coming off of that shameless plug for the Patreon. And it's not even a shameless plug because I have no shame in saying I've got, I get money from listeners because making a podcast is really hard. And I appreciate when people support things that they like. So on the topic of Patreon and patrons, I was today, I wasn't today years old, but I want to reiterate that you have a Patreon yourself, and you do a sticker club every month where you drop new stickers based on your artwork and design to all of your patrons, which I think is a great way for a comic creator to be involved with Patreon and give something back to the supporters. How's that been going for you?
Pretty good. It got better when I started doing stickers than when I did nothing. I do think Patreon works best for things like podcasts because it's something you get for free. Webtoons, things that you get for free to show support. You know what I mean? Kind of like buying that Game Pass or whatever for a game you like that you got, Fortnite or whatever. For comic creators, it's different because usually what we do is we give previews of what we're working on. Some guys do classes. I don't do that. Some guys do really smart guy stuff. I don't really do that either. So I think it works great for those things, and I think it's kind of at its best. For people who make things, I think it's harder because we can't always I can't show DC stuff I'm working on. I can't talk about things that haven't been announced. Usually, some guys do classes or tutorials, or they just speak eloquently about the industry, and it's I don't do any of that. But when I started doing Sticker Club, that's when it became profitable. But I like doing it. It's fun. It's through my store too, but I don't recommend that because you through the Patreon, like we'll do like votes. So
Oh, that's
I'm
cool.
like, hey, I'm busy. Everyone suggests something, and whatever gets the most likes, we'll put in a poll, and then everyone gets to vote on the poll. So like the next 2 months are not my ideas; they're the Patreon's ideas. And if it's something I hate, I will not do it. But it's not happened yet. So it's fun. It's a cool little sticker club to be in, but also you kind of get like maybe twice a month I post something on Patreon. I'm trying to be more active on those things, not just Patreon because people give me money. It's like I'm looking at newsletters and stuff like that because I think, especially with the nature of they're tangenting hard. Sorry. Social media is so weird right now, but we still need our communities and trying to find how to keep people informed. Not just because I want to sell things, but like I'll tangent again. Like the reason why we're doing Where Monsters Lie as a Kickstarter is because people weren't aware there was a volume 2. Like there was a failure in getting that information out. And I don't want that to happen again. Like I don't want it to be the people who are fans of mine not even know that I have things out. So I'm trying to be. I've had Patreon, I think, a long time. I know I started Sticker Club September 2019, I think. So I've been doing it for like 5 years, right? But in those 5 years is when it felt like a really useful because there's more people. Like there's more people to engage with, and that means there's more things for me to talk about. It's easier to make an effort when people giving you money.
Because I was kind of scrolling through the Patreon, seeing some of the past designs. I think for this month you've got like a Peacemaker sticker coming out.
This month is Superman,
and
I apologize. Justice Gang.
That's right. I think what makes Sticker Club such a great idea for you especially is that your art style, because I mean you're drawing the design for the stickers, getting them produced, shipped out, and it's a solid fee, $5. Is that your interpretations? I was kind of like, wow, how does he cover? My logistic brain started going. I was like, well, how does he cover the postage and the time? Anyways,
I do. They're cheap. That's how.
Long story short, I think your art style it works for stickers a lot because I love seeing your interpretation of characters and the small nuances that you add to them and how you kind of make them, bring them to the Kyle Starks style of things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think Sticker Club is a great idea for what you do and for the fans of yours. And I might actually end up signing up. But what I wanted to say on the topic of you're talking about taking kind of like your own destiny into your hands, your own career, and making sure that the fans know what you're working on, and that's something that I noticed the last couple of days, diving into your social media, your website, and everything about you is that you're very forward facing, whether that be on you've got a TikTok, you've got you recorded the video for your Kickstarter, you've got the Patreon. I mean, your social media, you're always like forward facing, and I guess I'm curious to know, have you always been comfortable being in front of the camera, or was that something that you had to learn out of necessity, as a comic creator?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a clownish extrovert, so I think it's easy. The only real challenges of that stuff is the technical stuff, which I'm not doing anything complicated. But even the stuff that's like very, very simple, I wish I could do better. I try to put when I do TikToks, I'll try to put like covers of comics on, but I can't figure out how to put like a black background behind it. So it's just like a floating. It's like the oldest man making TikToks, and it's like I know I could like probably look at videos, but it's like I don't really want to.
I kind of charm there.
I kind of like how it's crap a little bit. No, I don't. I never. In fact, in my house, my daughters and my wife were talking about like speech class, like having to give like presentations. Like, do you have speech class? And they're like, they don't do that anymore. And my wife was like, that's awesome. And I'm like, I never minded. No one likes it. Like no one, but that's this is part of the job. That's part of the job. And my thing, like this, like panels, we were kind of talking about panels before we started. Like if I'm on a panel, I feel the same way about that I do about these TikToks or these interviews. Like if I'm bored, they must be changed. Like if I'm bored, the viewer's bored. If I'm bored, the reader's bored. And that's not what I'm putting out. That's not what I want the product to be. And I'm the product, right? Yeah. So I am an extrovert. I'm a bit of a clown. I wish I was less of a doofus. I wish I spoke very eloquently and had smart guy thoughts. But I don't. He's a clownish extrovert. So no, I don't mind. I like doing it. I think that's why it's like I'm looking into these newsletters because I think there's better, more efficient ways to do it. Because when I started, I mean, my career, which you said, but if it wasn't for Twitter and if it wasn't for Kickstarter, I wouldn't have a career. And that's like getting after it. You know what I mean? Like that's getting after it, self-promotion. And the better you are at that, I think if you look at the guys who are really, really successful, who aren't outright geniuses, that don't make undeniable work, who have really strong followings, it's because of that. It's because they have a little bit of Carney in them. I don't have enough Carney in them, but I'm pretty good at self-promotion. I think it's just they're better at finding eyes and ears than most people because they're smart at that stuff. You know, they're just smart at that stuff. And I'm trying to be smarter at that stuff.
What names come to mind when you think of creators that are internet savvy, social media savvy, you know, promotion, really good at that?
I mean, there's some guys you go, who aren't but they figure out how to cultivate like a following. I think like Jim Zub's really good at that. I think Kevin Easton's really good at that. But if you look at how Scott Snyder has gone through, like he's great at it. He's real smart at it. At getting people to have eyes on things. I think Tinian's real good at it.
Yeah, he is.
I think Chip just naturally is good at it. But yeah, I think the guys who are best at that, like those guys who have Substack, like I don't think that the Substack's successful because of them, but they're also like they're doing it. You know what I mean? And that's the thing. And you know, there's something 2025 about, well, if you just consistently do it, you just consistently do it. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. I've been thinking about it a lot lately because I do the TikTok, but it's just like my priority is my work. Or my work, probably my family, then my work, though it's close. They're very close. And like if those things take my time, then I don't need to tweet. You know what I mean? I don't need to do a video. But I do think the more frequently you do stuff, and I think that's true of the Substack, and those guys do that. Now, do those guys write those posts themselves? Who's to say? Do they have help? Do they have assistance that us little guys trying to be big guys don't have? Probably. Probably they have teams of some sort, and I don't have a team. Unless you count, sometimes my youngest daughter holds the camera. So we're, but that's all things. It's like, this industry is getting this industry. I don't say it's shrinking because I don't think that's true, but we're at a point right now where I think it's really hard to find people. It's really hard to find people in 2025. And I think 2026 is going to be harder. But I think it's because the roots are changing. Like, I think a lot of people who used to be on social media are in private Discords now. And maybe those private Discords have 200 people in it, but it's the 200 people they liked from whatever before, right? It's like, well, you can't ever get them now. Like, there's no echo chamber with those people unless you're in those Discords. And why would I be in their private Discord now where they used to see me make a bad joke once a week or whatever? So it's like, well, what do you do? How do you engage retailers? Because I think that's becoming a lost art for the publishers, is how to engage retailers. And so, yeah, I think all that's just really important. It's just like the conventions. Like, I know he's done 8 shows this year. It's like, well, the year before the pandemic, I did 36 because I had Rick and Morty and because I was in demand, and it's part of the job. Being at that table and talking to people and being interesting or charming or having a good product is part of the job, because there's so few ways to promote that. I would say still, even as it was in 1986, I think word of mouth is still the most important thing. The best thing you can have is word of mouth. But it's now, where is that word of mouth? Where's the orbit of that word of mouth? I don't know. It's confusing, I think. And I think everyone would agree today, not 8 months ago. 8 months ago, I don't think it was very confusing, but I think it's going to get worse in regards to how to find people. So Patreon's great. I think if you have, again, for webtoons and podcasts, if you listen to it, give them money. Don't be weird. But for like me, you're already buying a book. Like if you're supporting the Kickstarter, that's $15, right? So it's like, well, what's another $5 a month? It's like, well, I think if there's a service, which is that these stickers are cool and you get something, and I'd like to figure out something else, like another variable. Like, we're always trying to figure out something to be smart and clever and sort of ahead of the curve. Yeah, I don't remember what the question was. I think I answered it.
I think I answered it. That you answered it like 3 times over. That was very comics PhD answer right there. But I want to stick to the topic of like, supporting the things that you love, because I'm in full agreement. If you love something, if it's like a podcast, just using that for an example, I support every single podcast that I am a true blue fan of, because in my head that is like part of my day. It's part of my routine. And, I want them to keep it going. So if it support the things you like is what I'm getting at. But speaking about supporting the things you like, we're here to talk about the campaign, Kickstarter being a topic I've got among this list. I was looking at your Kickstarter profile because I was looking at your Kickstarter profile, and it says that you've run 4 successful Kickstarter campaigns. You're now on your 5th one, which has already met its goal. But the interesting thing is that you've also backed over 27 campaigns. And I was curious.
I don't think 27 is that many.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good ratio. It's a good ratio. Look, that's probably more than some folks. That's probably more than some folks. But what campaigns? I mean, of the 27, do any of them come to mind? And I guess, what do you look for when you're backing campaigns yourself as a fan?
I mean, I immediately think of the most expensive ones, which were like board game campaigns. Board games exist very strongly on Kickstarter, so I definitely have a couple of those that I overpaid for. There's several good things right now. You put me on the spot with that. I did those how to write and how to draw books by the Lorenzo brothers. I bought.
Okay.
They're okay. I think for someone else they'd be really cool, and I think they look good. They're really well designed. Like, that for me is like the coolest part. I have a bunch of board games I've gotten. I have comics. I'm looking at my shelf to try to think of what I got. I mean, but generally, I'll tell you right now. If I didn't already have it, Jesse Lonergan has a Kickstarter going for his book Faster, and there's another, and I apologize to them. There's another creator's book. The publisher's doing sort of 2 books in one Kickstarter, which is interesting, but it's 2 different creators. Jesse Lonergan has Faster, which is being reprinted. I got it from him at a convention.
Oh, cool.
But I think he's self-published. It's like a Rizzograph. I guess what they call that, fancy printing. It is super good. So, like, if I didn't already have that, I would be backing that. And there's a couple right now. I don't always look at Kickstarter. I mean, like, someone pointed out, like, they announced Erica Henderson's new Harley Quinn book is coming out, and I go, oh, that's awesome. The last comic I bought in a shop was an Erica Henderson comic, who's a friend of mine. It's like, I don't go to shops, so like I'm sort of getting all comic news by osmosis, and I read things a lot, but I rarely go to my shops, which is more about my city and my shops than anything else. So with Kickstarter, it's the thing is, like, I won't think about Kickstarter for a while because I'm working and I'm not buying. And then if I see one thing interesting, then it sort of sends you down this rabbit hole where you go, well, I like that. And then it's a matter of how much are they trying to charge? Like, that's a big thing with, yes.
Yeah.
It's a big thing with Kickstarter. And I'm not semi-participatory in this because of overcharging. I think, like, I'm not going to pay $10 plus shipping for a 24-page comic. I will not. I just won't do it. I won't ever do it. It doesn't make any sense. I don't like paying $5 and no shipping for a 24-page comic, right? So for this one, it's a 48-page comic. It's 48 pages of story plus 4 covers, so it's 52 pages. In my mind, 48-page comic is probably $10. Kickstarter, it's $20. It's $20. Like, you could barely charge $20 for 48 comic because that's the going rate. I think that's garbage. So I added 8 pages of back matter. It's 60 pages. I'm doing that at 15. I wish it was 10 or 12, but the long and hard of it is this Kickstarter is so I'm paying other people. Like, I have to pay Peter, I've paid Vlad, I've paid Josh Reed. The rate that they made, where I'm actually paying a slightly better rate. But so I had to because if I didn't get 15 and it didn't happen, these guys would be out of work for X long, right? For 2 months, they would miss at least 2 months worth of work, which is, I couldn't be. But so I don't love that. So if it's something that's like grossly overpriced, I'm out. It doesn't matter what it is. But otherwise, I got started in Kickstarter. I've definitely bought a bunch of Kickstarter comics. I should look and see what I have on there. Since you brought it up, I should cheat. I'm not going to. So it's usually whenever I'm running a Kickstarter, I'll kind of notice things. But also like Jason Latour has one going right now that looks real interesting. Wes Craig has one going right now that looks real interesting. So there's guys out there, Jesse Lonergan is one to get.
I'm gonna have to check out that Jesse Lonergan one. But speaking about,
he's so good. He did.
He's amazing.
He did a postcard print for this book. He's a good friend. We like him a lot.
Oh, that's cool.
That's not Faster is so. It's like he does. I know Jesse's not on the show. Jesse, no, he's not here. But he does he draws so well, and he does such interesting things with the page. And there's something about this race car. unbelievable, and it's cheap. It's like I don't know what he charges. I think I bought it. I don't know what I paid for it. I would pay $20 for this book, and I don't know if it's even like it could be 12 pages. It's more than that. Jesse Lonergan's Pastor. Check it out. Anyway, sorry, we're not talking about him. We're talking about
I am
Kyle Starks.
absolutely going to check it out. But on the topic of your Kickstarter, which is Where Monsters Lie, Dead End, I want to give some background for any of the listeners that might not be completely familiar. I do have the link in the show notes. There will be a link in the show notes. The goal, I guess the long story short for this is that this will be volume 3 of the Where Monsters Lie series.
Yes.
Volumes 1 and 2 were both 4-issue limited series, so a total of 8 issues so far that came out through Dark Horse. Why the change in shift from publication?
Sure.
I guess starting there.
Yeah, I love having this. I feel like I've had this conversation at times. Like, have I had enough that I'm going to get in trouble with a publisher? here's the long and short of it, and this is the truth of the matter. And it is what it is. Volume 1 for Where Monsters Lie, which is about a gated community for slasher monsters, your favorite horror monster tropes, archetypes, where they go between their killings, they live there together. There's a homeowner society. They have to follow rules. They have to be nice to each other. They're very domesticated, and then they're found by sort of an apex monster hunter. And it's a horror movie where everyone's killing each other. It's great. The first issue sold out. Every issue sold out at the distributor level. It was a success. It was nominated for a Bram Stoker Award. That's thrilling. It's funny. It's fun. Everyone I know who's read it, who's said to me they read it, said they loved it. I think anyone who's a horror fan would enjoy it. So it sold out. It's very good. A publisher goes, let's make more. We go, yes, we'd love to make more. And so I sort of thought I'd get to do 2 more 4-issue arcs. Like in my head, I'm like, we sold out. This one's going to do pretty good. And then I'll do a final one, which will do okay. And then maybe they'll put it all together and we'll have like a library edition down the road. Who knows? But what happened is volume 2, it came out a year and a half later. Was that it? Is it because it's a sequel? I don't know. Is it because it was not promoted well at all? I can't say. I have suspicions and I have theories because all of those things are true. Like all those things are true. Is it as good as the first one? I think it is. I've had several people shot to my, like almost anyone I've talked to about volume 2 has been like, I think I like it better. And I'm like, oh, that's awesome. Like, I love that. Like, I think the first one's a little bit better because I think it's a horror movie franchise. They all get a little bit worse. So I thought we'd be doing a volume 3 for sure. I hadn't planned, but I had ideas for a volume 3. I had things I wanted to happen. And the long and short of it is that it didn't make any money. Like, it didn't make any money. It didn't sell well. So when it came time that me and Peter Kowalski, the artist, who's very enthusiastic about the series too, right? He's like, we're ready to do more, and they're like we can't justify it, and that's fair. Like, that's the nature of this industry. If something doesn't sell, you don't make more of it. Like, it's not like it used to be, where like you go, well, let it go. They'll see it more, they'll get used to it, and they'll start like, it's like a TV show. Like, you could have like Barney Miller ran 3 seasons. Have you ever watched Barney Miller before? That's a rough. It's not that funny. It's not that good. But there's only 4 shows on at one time, right? It's easy to like they'll start to like it anyway. So it didn't do well. But Peter was like, well, we'd like to. At the time, I was like, well, what if we did a 48-page one shot? And they go 40, like one shots don't sell. And I'm like, well, that's fair too. I get that. I think that's accurate. I will say my Lobo one shot sold out, but that's also Lobo, so it's a different story, and it's harder to promote. It's one shot. I get it. So. But Peter was like, I want to do it. And I was like, well, I want to do it too. So I was like, I think I've done 4 Kickstarters, and they were all successful to a certain amount. I'm like, I think we could raise enough. Literally, I think we could raise enough to pay the creative team, printing costs. And then at least we'd have this thing that exists, and we did the thing that we wanted to do, and that's what we agreed on. We asked Dark Horse, they gave us permission to print it, because technically they own the rights to print it. Like, it's creator owned, but they own, just like Image, they own that part. Okay. Like, I can't just do whatever. I own the movie rights, I own the film rights, but I don't own.
So that's rights. How it works. Okay. The distribution rights, basically.
Basically, yeah. So Image has the same thing, right? Like, Image has the same thing, where it's like they own the printing rights, but they don't own the other stuff. Dark Horse does all these other stuff. Like, they have people who will try to sell things for you in terms of media, theoretical marketing that Image theoretically doesn't have, but they do. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation.
Sure.
So because of that, and basically, everything that I did last year, I hope that's right, 2024, kind of nobody saw. And I did do most of my work with one publisher. Is that coincidence? I don't know. I can't speak to that. But I thought that we could make this book one, and I get to put the series in a place that I'd like to put it at, which is a theoretical end, but it's a horror franchise, so nothing really ever has to end. And like we like it, like we like making it. Like that's kind of the thing is like what a place of privilege for me is that if I like something a lot and I want it to exist, I can do it. In the past, if I really like an idea, I'll just draw it. I'll just draw it and I'll do a Kickstarter. It doesn't matter. Like I just want to exist. The money is secondary. And it was the same thing for this. We both just really wanted to do it one more time, and I didn't want to give up, basically. But they were pretty. Dark Horse was real cool about it. I would have loved for it to do like 40 grand, just to be like, if you're the publisher that said no, like, you know what I mean?
Look at it over here. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like some stunting.
But 17, whatever it's at right now, like I'm super happy we're making it, but it's like we're not getting rich off of it, right? But it is what it is. The most important thing is that we get to make the thing. I think for the people who are fans of the series, which is to say the first volume of the series, the people who are the fans of the first volume of the series will be very pleased that there's 2 more and they'll really enjoy it. And yeah, Kickstarter. Okay. I love Kickstarter. I like it because of that. It's like it's very DIY and you either do it or you don't. And
yeah, I was just about to say it's got to be it's almost like a double-edged sword. Like I've got a couple of thoughts here where it's like, well, it's a bummer that. And you know, you said something in the beginning where you're like, you know, I've said this a couple times in the interview. I don't want it to come off like I'm throwing shade to Dark Horse, and I don't get that vibe at all. I think if anything, it puts a spotlight on how difficult the industry is. Where it's like, hey, the first volume sold out. You know, critically acclaimed, it sold out, and just how quickly and uncertain the industry is. Like you never know what happens with the sequel, but at the same time, so it puts a spotlight on the uncertainty of the industry, of the business, and all the things that need to happen to, you know, make a comic book come to life. But then on the other hand, I think it also puts a spotlight on the power of, you know, like the times that creators are living in now, where if you own the right to your stuff, well, you can, you know, in your case, it was best case scenario, you can take it and, you know, take this directly to the fans and let the fans vote. Like, hey, do you guys want to see, you know, volume 3? So I think it's cool to see both of those aspects highlighted. I want to say, Kyle, I went ahead and backed the project yesterday, and it's because you offered, which you have a reward tier, which I don't think many Kickstarters, especially comic Kickstarters, not a lot of them do, but you had a digital reward tier where you were like, hey, you can get all 3 volumes digitally, this brand new one, as well as the 2 former ones in digital version. And it was super affordable. It was $15. I could not wait for the digital delivery. So I ended up reading volume 1. I started that on Hoopla. It was on Hoopla.
Yeah, read it on Hoopla.
I fucking love it so far, man.
Yeah,
like the premise is really fun. The art by Peter Kowalski is
he's
phenomenal,
good.
Man. Yeah, I've been enjoying it so far. I am on the Kickstarter right now, and to your point, you guys had an original goal of $15,000. You guys are well on your way to $18,000. You still got 12 more days to go. You know how Kickstarter
is.
There's
a lot of time left. Yeah, I know.
Exactly. So I guess one of my questions is, because all right, take a step back. The last interview I had was with Mike Del Mundo. He was on the show promoting his new
doing a
art
very successful Kickstarter right now, I think.
Stupid successful. Like Kyle, it was insane to watch it. Just, you know, I think he had I forgot what his goal was. It was like a modest, whatever, 20,000. Crushed it in the first 24 hours. So now like they're coming up with like, you know, new reward tiers. And I guess I'm curious, like when you have a Kickstarter campaign that has already met its initial goal, is it smooth sailing after that, or is there still like stressors that come about, like, you know, this Kickstarter campaign?
Well, emotionally, I mean, I will say emotionally, as soon as day one, I think my first day was 10,000. It was 2/3 was a great relief, because I thought in 2025 getting 15,000 was maybe asking a ton. Once you get to the goal, I think it's very easy, and I'm probably guilty in some ways of like just taking your foot off the gas, because like you have succeeded. I think my last Kickstarter, which was only me, it wasn't the only person who did anything, was me and Chris Schreitzer, who's my colorist and my best friend. And I think we did 23 on a $20,000 Kickstarter. And you know what? I wasn't sweating 20,000 then for a Kickstarter, but I was getting is it OGN, and that's a lot of pages, and it's worth $20. You know what I mean? Yeah. All those things are factors for me, because I always think of I like to think of Kickstarter as a store more than like funding a promise. Like, so I kind of like, this is the first one I've done where the book isn't done, it isn't completed and ready to go. Because I don't think you should pay someone to make something. I think you should pay someone to give you something. But that also is the nature of Kickstarter, right? The nature of Kickstarter is that we were trying to kickstart a project. So we're kind of trying it different. But once you get the goal, it's a huge relief. I think there are people, I know I said the word carny earlier. The people who are very good at making money in comics have a lot more carny in them than I do. I could not, like, the difference between the variant cover and the normal cover is $5. Like, I've seen $50. I've seen, it's like, it doesn't make any sense to me, especially on a Kickstarter, because it's not collectible like a X-Men variant cover is in the same way. Just can't do it. When I go to shows and I buy a book now I don't get comps the way I used to. So it costs me X number of dollars for a book. You're getting my signature. It's like, well, it's $20 in the store. I should be able to charge $25. I lugged it out here. I just can't do it. I just can't do that part of it where there's little things you can do to sort of fairly, which are not even like sketchy. Like, there's good sketchy ways. I just can't do it. So I think a lot smarter person would be like, how can we go more? Like, what can I do? Well, here's the thing. I thought of like a few, what I thought were high purchase amount items. They're gone. Like, I can't add more, like, because Peter's volunteered pages, like, they're gone. I don't know what it would be. I'm just not carny enough to be like, what if I painted your name on an elephant side and then we had it? I was like, I don't know. So there is that, like, how do we keep making more money? And to me, and the industry too, it applies, is that for me, all I can do is make something good and hope somebody wants it. And so it's just finding eyes and ears. So we're literally in the middle, and there's always a thing where I go, well, it's going to only make 500 more. Like, but that's nice. Look, we did it. Where I know in the last week, it's going to go up a little bit more. I think, like I said, I think 23. I did 23 on my last two. That would be great. I mean, 20 would be great. That's how I feel about it. 20 would be great. If I do 20K on this book, and I'm paying, again, everyone. So it's not me. Vlad's getting his rate. Vlad's getting a little bit more as a colorist because his coloring rate was insane. Me and Piotr are splitting profits 50-50 basically. And then Josh reads a letter. He gets paid what a letter gets paid. But when this ends, if it ended today, I think him and I both would make more per page than any project we did last year, basically.
Wow.
So it's like, in that regards, it's a huge success. I would love for it to be a big enough success that I had to rethink about how I was doing business, just period. And it's not going to do that right now, but it is very interesting to me that this process I love. I love this process, which is 100% on me. Like, I don't know if Peter's retweeted anything. I know Vlad has a little bit. I don't know if Peter's done any promotion at all. I'm gonna pack it. Like, me and my kids are gonna pack these envelopes. I really like that, and it's like, well, if I can make this much doing it this way, how viable? Because I can do. I did a book called Louise Strauss Stole My Heart for a free comic book day a few years ago. It's on my Gumroad. It's for free. You can pay whatever you want. It's a 48-page book. I think I did in 2.5 weeks. So it's like, I could do quite a few 48-page comics in a year, but I love retailers. And I think that direct market is where comics are supposed to be. So there's all these parts that sort of, like, on one hand, the industry is very tough. On the other hand, I love the industry. Like, I don't just love comics. Like, I love the industry for all of its nonstop frustrations and perplexions. And, but yeah, I love Kickstarter. I think that was along as, like, it's not stressful after a point. As soon as you know you're going to get the goal, it's like, what a huge success. And I have the same feeling right now as I did with whatever the highest amount of, you know what I mean? Like, it's just so nice I get to do the thing that I want to exist.
Well, let me ask you this, because, now we could say you've now run 5 successful Kickstarter campaigns.
Successful.
What did you have any tips for, like, aspiring creators who are launching their own Kickstarter?
I do. And they are, once again, the tips of someone who's happy just being successful. So they're not like someone else would be like, they're like, let me tell you how to make a lot of extra, how to keep going. I don't know that. Here are my tips. One, try to make everything fit in the same envelope. That seems silly. It's really important. I try to always do things like small print sets. I've done in the past temporary tattoos. We're doing a badge for the first time, like a patch, which I think is real cool, to be like you're in the Homo Society with these monsters, which I think is really funny, and it's a cool looking patch. Temporary tattoo, stickers. It fits in the envelope, because here's why. When you figure out shipping, you're figuring out shipping for this one thing. If you add 4 postcards and a temporary tattoo, you're not paying any more. Like, as you give people stuff worth value, it's all going in the same envelope. Like, don't go, what if we now did a stuffed animal? Kickstarter's doing great. What if we added a stuffed animal? Like, dude, you don't know anything about stuffed animals. Don't do that. It's going to be more expensive than you think. And
so
all
keep
that
it simple.
Also, keep it simple and you do the math before. Like, when you figure out what amount you need, figure out not how much you want, figure out how much you need, and kind of be happy with that. I think my first Kickstarter, I'd have to look, was like 2,000. And it was just because I was like, this is how much it would cost for me to get, and maybe less than that, 200 copies. I wanted 200 copies of the book to go to conventions. I ended up doing a lot better than that, and I used that money to go to conventions. I used it to pay for flights and tables and hotel rooms. And so yeah, that's number one. Keep it simple. Fit all in the same thing. Keep your goals reasonable. What's the other one I think is real important? I have another one. It's blanking on me. But that was a big, like, if you can fit in one envelope, the best. This, I break that rule. If you have one tier, like we're doing original page art, right? That's 11 by 17. So I will have to figure, like, and that's rough because you don't want it to bend. That's tough. So like the shipping on that's different, but the people who are buying original art, they know that they're paying money already for it, right? Yeah. And if I charged, let's say I charge $250, I don't remember what the price is, and I have to eat $30 in shipping, so what? You know what I mean? Like, so what for me? But there is shipping over here. If I go, oh, I charged them $20 to ship it, but this 2 pieces of cardboard, it's actually more, I'll eat it. That's just how it is. Never stop talking about it. Like, McDonald's never apologizes for having 17 commercials a day. Like, don't be ashamed to promote it. And again, as soon as I reach that goal, I do take the foot off because I don't want to harass people. I did what I wanted to do. Again, I would love for this to be $30,000. I mean, those Kickstarters, like, they're creators just like me, and their day one, they're like 25,000. It's like, that's amazing for them. It says something about my career and where I'm at. I want it to be better than that, just because I kind of want to rub it in people's faces a little bit, just a little bit. But Kickstarter is so fun just to do versus what was my last? Those Not Afraid came out. Those Not Afraid #1 comes out. I see a couple of reviews. We love that. Very positive reviews. How many did it sell? I have no idea. Right now, all 4 issues came out. The trade comes out, I think, this month. I have no idea how many they sold. Kickstarter, I know exactly how many I sold. I know the name of every person who bought it, and I'm giving them something. And I love that. I love that when you buy something from me on Kickstarter, you're not just getting a book, you're getting a book and some stickers, or you're getting, you know what I mean? There's extras. There's extra stuff thrown in there that makes it feel like, oh, it's like a little party. And I like, love that interaction.
And you get like this labor of love, right? Like, you're talking about, me and my kid are going to pack each individual one. And I mean, it's not the same at all, but it made me think about on the Shortbox Patreon, at a certain tier, I'll send you like a care package every year, which I need to actually do. I'm just reminding myself I need to actually do that now. But it is really, it's really fun there is something really fun about packing something for someone that decided to spend their hard-earned money. Go ahead.
That's like the last tip. Here's the most important tip. If you're going to do a Kickstarter. Thermal printer. I use a Rollo. I love it.
Game changer.
Thermal printer. And I use a service called Pirate Ship. Pirate Ship will give you cheap, like, don't use stamps.com. And I love the post office. We celebrate the post office. But Pirate Ship is this great shipping.
I use ShipStation, and I think it's pretty similar. You save a little more money than going to the post office.
But with Pirate Ship, and I can't speak to ShipStation, but the reason why I like Pirate Ship specifically is I can load a CSV. Say, here is my $30 tier, okay?
We're getting $30 tier. Now.
So I can do, because you break it down into tier, right? So here's so my commission guys are getting drawings, so I'm doing them separate from everything else. So when I put in all those 30s, even the internationals, it will compile them all and it will print out labels all at once. So I don't have to go in there and do.
Yeah.
So having that sort of CSV, which is like an Excel file, having that to be able to load in and go now. So we'll go tonight. We're doing just the book tier, right? I've been signing them all day. We're going to print out 150. I don't know what's that. And you don't even have to separate international. It'll just go ahead and put them. It'll go ahead and make their own labels for the internationals. And then, of course, you pay, but you have the Kickstarter money. So that's what you're paying with. That you charge people for that.
Sure. Yep.
So those two things, I never, always the worst part before I had a thermal printer and some sort of, stamps.com is not the one, guys. It's great if you're just doing one or two, but you don't get that big of a deal and it's a pain. You have to upload money into it.
Sure. Yep.
You don't it's so weird. Once I was able to just like get like a row of labels, and then what we do is we put them in a shop, we put them in laundry baskets, and then we drive to the post office and dump them in their bin. Like, it's so easy. The worst parts for me were like postage, printing them out and figuring out how to print them out. You had to get stickers. You ran out of ink. I was running out of ink
Oh
all
my
the
God.
time, and you're like, oh my gosh, will it reprint that label, or do I have to pay for it again? Because I wasn't using Pirate Ship or whatever. Rollo and Pirate Ship can go ahead and give me
Sponsor this episode
sponsorship.
for sure.
I'm here for it.
Kyle, that is, I mean, everything you're saying is bringing me, like, giving me flashbacks to my whatnot selling days. So I love the inside baseball and very specific advice for sure. I want to get back to.
I know a lot of people are like, oh, there's the fulfillment, blah blah blah. Listen, if I was Del Mundo, who's, by the way, he's not he has a publisher who's saying that he's not doing it himself.
Yeah.
But if you have thousands, sure, it's different. But like, I think the most I've had is like 700 backers, so probably 500 physical items. It's not that bad. It's like if you're doing it by yourself, maybe not great. You'd have to be very zen about it. But like, we had like 1 year, we had like my sister-in-law's family come over. We order pizzas. You know what I mean? Like, cool. You just have a nice little fun night of it. All you're doing is this, and just make sure you have in the correct grouping, and it's easy. The worst part is. Yeah,
my room looked like a one-man shipping station, but it was like a conveyor belt. Like, I had like, okay, this is where I pack. You know, like if you can get your process down packed, and if you have an extra, family member, spare hands, there is something really fun to it. With that said, I want to get back to talking about the story, right? So you guys are printing the third volume of Where Monsters Lie: Dead End, and everything you're saying, it tells me that this is clearly like a labor of love. Like, you guys didn't have to, launch this Kickstarter. You guys didn't have to tell this third volume and find like a good endpoint. Like, it's something that you and Peter wanted to do and bring to life. And I guess I'm curious to hear from you directly. Like, what is it about this story that like warrants this time and effort? Because I mean, I think it was, credit to David Harper. I think he said it best. Maybe any other comic creator or artist would be like, all right, well, that's the end of this series. Sorry, you guys, sorry, guys. But the fact that you guys took it on yourselves to like, hey, look, if we break even, great. If we lose money, it is what it is. But we want to get this story out. What is it about Where Monsters Lie and the premise and the story that speaks to you, Peter?
I had other books that came out like Volume 2, Where Monsters Lie, that came out that won't have more, that I did love just for various reasons, though. I'm not afraid. Pine and Merrimack. I know Skybound put Volume 1 on Assassination and 6 Psychic Superior Teams. Like, it wasn't going to happen. Like, there's a world where they sell really well, that they do what I would hope that they would do, which is that they find their audience and you go, oh, of course we're going to do more. And even that, in sort of the current industry where we are sort of 4 issues and done, doing 4 issues and then 4 issues and 4 issues, you think would be optimal, but the information you get too late as a publisher to even know if it justifies, and by the time you turn it around, because they're not done in a month, you know what I mean? Like, comics take a while. It's just really challenging. But like, look, I'm in a place of privilege, number one, whereas if I want to do something, I can do it. Worst case scenario is I draw it. In this case, it is a factor that Peter and Vlad are both Polish, and the dollar is worth quite a bit more there, and their rate is very friendly. For me to be able to do it at this number, at this particular number, because for any other creator, this number wouldn't work. That's privilege. So we were able to make it happen. And listen, if it should have been 30,000, I go, we'll try to get 30,000, but you know what I mean? Like, you have to be realistic about it. So yeah, look, I really had a lot of fun making this book, which is the place that I made the second volume from. And when I was like, we're going to do a 48-page, it's the same for this last script. I had a third arc in mind. Basically, in the first one, you go to Site A, Wilmhurst Gated Community, which is sort of like maybe where the more popular, more successful slasher monsters are. And then in the second one, you go to Site B, which is some more, but you also go to Site C, which is where all the sort of hillbilly, like, rural monsters are. So I like the idea, like, which is implied at the end of the first volume, spoilers, is that there's a bunch of these gated communities because there's a bunch of different kinds of monsters. And as we were doing Volume 2, where we're sort of doing the rural monsters and sort of redneck hillbilly monsters, I was like, oh, I want to see the Japan monsters. I want to see the Asian monsters very badly. And we do that in Volume 3, and I had a plan where the main character sort of gets his ultimate revenge as sort of the apex predator final girl, where they go to hell. And so I knew what I wanted to do. I wrote the script in the same place that I was able to write the first two, which is that I don't remember writing it. It was so much fun. And I think Peter has so much fun sort of playing with these characters, and we're both very professional, and I think we just work really well together. And it's a situation where I could see how it was viable with the success I've had in Kickstarter in the past to do it again. I couldn't afford to do this and pay like Fran, who did Pine and Merrimack. He gets paid what he's worth, and he's worth a lot. And there's pros and cons of that, right? You have to find the audience, and you have to find a publisher that can afford it. I wish that was the case. We love Pine and Merrimack. I'd like to work with Fran every single year, and hopefully that's still something I'd like him to be my sort of Phillips to my Brubaker. I love him so much. But Peter's great. He's very professional. He's very good at his job. That's why we're doing Devil on My Shoulder, which comes out in November, which is not this. It's not funny at all. It's a very dark, bloody revenge. But if you look at Where Monsters Lie, his violence, the Polish have a different idea of squeamish, right? Like they see violence and gore differently than I do. And so I was like, oh, I want to give him something violent and gory. And I love bloody revenges, and I haven't seen a good bloody revenge in a while. And I was like, he'll be perfect for that. And that's also the best. When you find the job, the good thing, like Peter and I worked really well on Where Monsters Lie. Steve Pugh and I worked really well on Peacemaker. Sometimes it's just everything's right. And so to not do more, especially since I've not heard a bad word, like no one's ever said, it's not my favorite work of yours. You know what I mean? Like some stuff people are like, oh, yeah, that was pretty good. I really like this one. Like they'll be like, your favorite work, like Where Monsters Lie is always on that list, right? Like Where Monsters Lie is always on that list, and we had so much fun making it. And yeah, like listen, in this case, I kind of had to ask permission, but like you don't have to have permission to tell a story. Like you can just do it. You just have to figure out the way to do it. And I have other stories that I've had pitches that people have said no to, which is relatively new for me, but the industry is bad. And I go, oh, okay. And today I'm going, I could probably just do it. I wanted someone else to draw it at the time, but it's like, it's a good story. And why come up with a good story and then it not exist if you can find a way to do it? And I think the industry, we're going to be looking, I just think there's going to be shifts and not changes, not like it's going to be completely different. But I think there'll be shifts that if you can be like me or John Allison or Daniel Warren Johnson, where you can kind of do it all yourself if you have to, if you want to even, like maybe there's another route, like maybe there's something that makes sense. Daniel's not going to worry about it. He's getting money. But the rest of us are like not getting money. So we're trying to figure out how to get money.
Look, Daniel, I don't even want to disclose the amount of money I spent on his latest Kickstarter, the art book of his, but he's getting money. But you know what, Kyle, hearing you talk about Devil on My Shoulder, hearing you talk about Where Monsters Lie, it sounds like you are writing the stories that you want to see, that you would personally read.
100%.
And I think that's what makes you such an interesting creator to follow, is that I know plenty of people who are Kyle Starks fan. I mean, I can name 3 of them off the top of my head right now. My best friend Drew, big shout outs to Blake Simone, big shout outs to Brad and Lisa Gullickson, who you've literally drawn them. It's always interesting to meet other Kyle Starks fans and hear what's their favorite like Kyle Starks joint, right? Like everyone's got their favorite. They've got different opinions on things, but for the most part, Kyle Stark fans stick with Kyle Starks. They'll probably try everything you try. And what appeals to me is that no 2 comics of yours ever feel the same. Monsters Lies. I mean, I read the first issue. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a gated community full of like serial killers and slashers. Yo, this is fucking dope. And it's fun to see like your original ideas versus like when you're working on, like IP stuff, like a Peacemaker or Rick and Morty and things. And I guess thinking about your creator-owned stuff, your original stories, where do your ideas come from? Like, do you have a practice or routine or process when it comes to thinking up story ideas, or is it just like more serendipitous than that?
It's more serendipitous than that. I mean, I would say the most common thing is, like, we'll say Devil on My Shoulder is like, I love horror. I love, for someone who loves horror, who really enjoys horror, for comics to have a viable third option in that as a sales genre, which wasn't the case 5 years ago. Man, longer than that. I forget how long. We'll say 10 years ago. 10 years ago, you were either doing superheroes or you're doing what I would call thrillers, which are basically superheroes without powers, and a little bit like maybe a little bit of crime. Like you can maybe sneak some crime in there, right?
Just those two. Mm-hmm.
But really, it's true though. I mean, there's other stuff, but those were the ones like if you did like sort of a crime thriller comic, like you'd probably be okay. But horror is like there's been good horror, but it was very few and far between. Whereas right now, like we could start listing just by creators. You know what I mean? Just by creators, like all of these good, like all time classic horror books that are coming out over the last several years. So a lot of it is that I like horror, and I before I started doing action comedy because that's what I like. I will say my North Star is always to make the thing that I wish existed in the world. So it's very often like, why isn't there more things like this? And I'll go, why isn't there more things like this? I'll make it. I'll figure out what it is, and I'll make the thing that I would like. And then even if it doesn't sell, no comment. Kyle will always like it. I will always be proud of it, and I'll still enjoy it. And that's true of everything. I don't have one thing that I go, well, you go, maybe this could have been a little bit stronger. I maybe would have done this a little bit different. But there's not a book that I go, screw that book. Like, I don't want to talk about it. Like, it wasn't fun. I don't like it. I like all of them because I'm always into it. So I know for like horror's a thing. I like watching horror, and I'm sure that I watch some Bloody Revenge, and I don't know which one, and I go, oh, why don't they make these anymore? I would love to do that. And it doesn't hurt if like there's an artist who's like, hey, we should do something, to go, I wonder what they would be good at. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I wonder if there's a crossover, because there's certainly guys, and I don't think Jesse would get mad. Jesse's one of them. Jesse, like, we should do something. I love Jesse's work. I think he's in the discussion for one of the best comic artists in the business right now. And no one knows, of course, because it's an unfair world. But he does such formulous things. Like, he does smart guy stuff. And I'm like, well, you should do something with Matt Kent. You know what I mean? My friend Matt Kent. Like, he does smart guy stuff. I do dumb guy stuff. My stories wouldn't get the best out of you, right? But I would love to. And I think he's like, who cares? And I'm like, I mean, I do, because I want the best version.
Yeah. And
so that's part of it. And for Peter, I was like, man, he would do a Bloody Revenge so good. And maybe we even talked about it a little bit. Maybe he suggested like a Crow or something. You know what I can't recall that. I think I saw something. That's usually how it is. Or I'll go, I can usually see direct lines. Like 6 Seconds of Sugar Cane came out not long after Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, right? Like we were like, oh, what if you had like a genre? Like, but it's always like, what's the Kyle Starks version? You don't want to do the thing. It was like, what if there was someone, it went over a series of time, and it's like this guy's career. It's like, but no. And Schweitzer Schweitzer said the title, and he thought it was gonna be a different book, and I was like, no, this is what it is. Like I got it immediately. Like as soon as he said it, I knew what it was. And usually it's stuff like that. Like I have a list. I'd say like the pitches that I did. If I did 4 pitches, like 3 of them are pretty good. I'd like to do them a lot. One of them was great. I'm sad it didn't happen. I'll figure it out. And I have a couple things. It's like, well, this will be the next thing. This will be the next thing for me. But usually what happens is I will see something, or will read something, or I'll be reminded of something, and suddenly here it comes. Where Monsters Lie, which I went, that and I Hate This Place were both like, oh, it's like Cabin in the Woods. I'm like, I see what you're saying, but it's not to me. And I love Cabin in the Woods. I think it's one of my 5 favorite horror movies. But I know I was watching those Fear Streets. You remember when Fear Street came out on Netflix? Maybe not. And in one of them, like they sort of implied that this city has like a new serial killer, like a new slasher monster, like every so many years. And I was like, oh, that's so funny, because they would have lived together. And then I started thinking about monsters living together in the same place. Do they know each other? And it just turns into, it's like, oh, you know, who's building the Sawman's traps? Because he's not doing it. I know he's not. But you can't just like get in the Yellow Pages and hire a contractor. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I started thinking about all these things, and that's how it always goes. Is there's one thing that like Assassination, which is an old Skybound book, which I'm very proud of. I do with Eric Henderson, is about the world's former best hitman is now a mob boss, and someone's trying to kill him. So he hires the 20 best hitmen to be his bodyguards, which I think is very funny. It's a good, I love violence and I love action movies. But that was like, there's a Korean movie that vaguely had that premise. Like, vaguely. And I was like, oh, that's good. So I watch it. And I go, oh, they didn't do that. They didn't do what I thought they were going to do at all. Well, I was like, I like the thing that I had as much as this thing. So what's that thing? Like, why is mine better? Or why is mine more interesting to me? And sometimes it's just genre matching. Sometimes, like, which is sort of like, you know, Edgar Wright type stuff, or even like old Shyamalan. I like it when it's like, what if, dude, I just watched, this is a tangent. I just watched this British sitcom called Stacked Let's Flats. which was BAFTA award winning and all this stuff. It had the girl from What We Do in Shadows in it before What We Do in Shadows. But I will say, like, the premise of it to me is it's basically The Office with Greek Borat. And like that, someone like these, what if we took these, like, I love that a lot, which is like Karate Prom. I have a book that hasn't been announced yet that's coming out in December from Image called Wrestle Heist. Like, that's the same thing to me. I like wrestling. I like heist. Is there a way to put them together? And sometimes it's just as simple as that. And then it's always, I don't think like I'm a very great story guy, but I think I'm a very good character guy. I think I'm a very good dialogue guy. And so the story I try to figure out to the best of my ability. And usually I like tropes, and I like things seeming familiar but being very different. So there's sort of a shorthand of going, oh, I understand this part. I understand these monsters. So I don't have to explain like every part of who the murder clown is or who the puzzle weirdo is. Like, you get it. He's a puzzle weirdo. You've seen him before. Yeah. I like that. So I do that stuff a lot where it's sort of tropey, and it's like, how can I make it unique? How can I not make it that thing at all? I don't want it to be the thing that you recognize in any way outside of it seeming familiar. So it's all these little things that I do to sort of twist it around. Can I find subtext? Can I make someone cry if at all possible? I love that. If I can make people laugh for a while and then cry once, oh, I'm so happy. What a mean man I am. Can it be a little bit scary? We want drama and stakes, but I don't think anyone's ever gonna go, man, then this thing happened. You know what I mean? No one's, oh, and then this happened. That's so smart. And I don't know. We're doing the best we can. I think my thing is always, it's the thing I want to exist. I think comics should be fun. I think it should be a romp. And that doesn't mean it should be silly. That doesn't mean it should be funny. But I think it should be like, when you get done, you're like, all right. You know what I mean? Like, all right, that was fun. Let's do another one. And I want it to be sort of the same. Even if it's not comedy, there will probably always be, not on Devil on My Shoulder, there will probably always be a little bit of comedy because I can't help myself. And that's what I think is charming. And I'm surrounded by funny people. Like, my wife's funny. Not always, but sometimes she's real funny. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think there's always that in there because I think the best things in life have everything. They have drama. You feel something. You worry about something. It's scary. Those are the best ones. So we're trying to reach the point where we're no longer just like horror Kyle or comedy Kyle, or it's just like you said, like hopefully everyone likes the same one. We're trying not to do the same one twice. Yeah. I can definitely see where X book was me trying to also do the things I failed in the book before. Assassination, aforementioned, is theoretically a mystery. Who's trying to kill this guy? It's not a very good mystery. So then I did Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, which is a substantially better mystery. And Pine and Merrimack is about two people who love themselves a lot that terrible things happen to, which is the same of I Hate This Place. I just wasn't done with those yet. So it's like, I can see how they're similar, but I hope like they're all just fun. I hope they're all just good fun. Yeah.
Versus something like Where Monsters Lie or Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, which, by the way, I just want to say, I read that, speaking of hoopla, if it wasn't this year, I think it was last year. I read Six Sidekicks of Trigger Keaton, and Kyle, I can't recall the last time I laughed out loud reading a comic, but
we love that
series was so funny. Like, your timing, the way you're able to capitalize, because like to say comedy is all about timing and hitting the right timing and all that. I think you're a master at hitting timing in comic books, which is not easy, right? Because we're talking about 2D art that there's no motion. Like, a lot of it lives within the reader's mind and things like that. But I think you have such a knack for comedy and humor and making it feel natural. I think, like, for example, Six Sidekicks Trigger Keaton, it's like you had the joke, the forward-facing joke, but in the background, like, there's a reference to something, or a character is doing something, or they're saying like some sort of ad lib that adds to it, and you kind of build out this whole world and this whole moment. And I guess I'm curious, like, what challenges does comics pose for like telling comedy and humor? Like, is it I guess, like, how do you go about approaching comedy in a 2D form?
Comedy and horror have the exact same problems. They have the exact same issues because they rely on, which is why I think I'm good at both. I mean, I think I'm good at I hope I'm good at all. Like, I want to be good at all storytelling, but I'm good at comedy, and horror has very similar things. They're both predicated on, like you said, pacing matters a lot, tone, setup. And the difference is that the setup for a punchline in comedy, it's a setup for a scare in horror. So it's a lot of building things, and pacing is the number one thing, and that's panel size. It's how many panels are on a page. Six sidekicks, and my books are the ones I think people most commonly say are like really, really funny. Chris Schweitzer, like me, will do as many panels as a page takes to do the bit. I would never, and it's a testament to Peter and Steve. Peter for Where My Slide, it's a very dry humor because his characters don't emote; they're not very active. But for Steve Hugh, for a work for hire artist, I will not give them more than 6 panels a page if I can help it. I think for like my book Old Head, I counted and it was average 7.5 panels a page. Damn. And that matters because it's beats matters. I'm setting it up. So the size of a panel on a page it sets a rhythm, and you use that rhythm to do the bit. You can add more bits in, the more panels you do, the more pages you have, that matters too. But like, I think Peacemaker and I think Where Monsters Lie are both very funny. You just have to change. It's not like a tidal wave. Like, I feel like Old Head and I feel like Six Sidekicks, it's like a tidal wave. Like, we come hard because we could, because he's going to do the work like I would do the work. Like, me asking Chris Schweitzer to be like, we're going to put 12 panels on a page. You'll be like, yeah, no, we're going to put 13 because this one, it's like, that's my guy. Because you only get 20 pages. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, you have to do what you can. So that's what really it is. Like, pacing matters. I think also for comedy, if I'm doing the same tips for like Kickstarter, is I say try to have something for everybody. Try to do highbrow jokes, try to do lowbrow jokes, try to have something in the middle, because the thing about comedy, not just in comics, but everywhere, is it's extremely subjective. But funny is funny. It's just not everyone thinks a fart joke's funny, but a lot of people think a fart joke's funny. So maybe put a fart joke in there, but also do smart stuff. But I've always found, like, I try to do that, and if in the moment I do something that I think will be funny, I'll put it in there. And almost always, that's one that people say to me. So, like, you have to kind of trust your instincts. You have to be funny. I mean, like, I've seen a lot of comics that were trying to be funny by people who weren't funny. And it's like, you can tell, like, they're trying to be funny. Don't try to be funny. Just be funny. I try not to force anything. I never write to the comedy bits. Also, like, these characters are funny, and funny things happen in the context of the story that needs to be told. I think that matters too. It doesn't feel like I'm ever force feeding things or trying to make someone, like, look, he's trying to get you to laugh. I'm never trying to do that. I try to do it like it's very natural. I don't like forced exposition. I hate when someone, unless it's like a drill sergeant, or like someone, like, unless someone's they're explaining something to the reader and that's their job. I hate that. And I feel the same way about comedy. Everything I want to feel very natural. It's happening it's not forced in any way. It was just harder to do than the comedy, honestly, because it's sometimes easier just to have someone say, well, look, the car had a bomb in it. You're like, what, really? And you got to show the car and it blows up, and all right. And there's forensic scientists, and it's like 4 pages. You could just have one guy say it. No.
Yeah.
But horror is the same way. Like, horror is like, you have to set up the scenario, right? And this, like, you're like, hey, this is the world we're in. It's either funny or it's scary. Do you understand the world? Is it clear? Are you in the world? Because you need to do that immediately. To me, comics are worse than TV show pilots. Like, you have to do it in the first 4 pages. You can't slow burn unless that slow burn is smart. Like, if it's a smart slow burn or it's very well written. But for comedy and horror, I think you need to pretty quickly be like, this is the world we're in. Like, this is the world we're in. And don't you want to be in it? Like, don't you want to be in it? We're going to have fun. That's the Kyle Starks hope. You read the first couple of pages and you're like, oh, I want to know what's going to happen to these people, or I want to know where this is going to go. And it's going to be fun, right? That's what we're hoping for.
Well, I think it comes across in the work, absolutely. And I love what you said. The word natural is one I definitely use for your tone and your setup. I guess, what would you be doing if you weren't writing comics? Because, I mean, you have so many projects you're working on. Like, could you see yourself doing any other job with your talent, with, being able to write and a good understanding of timing and pace? Like, what else could you see yourself doing?
I don't know, man. It's funny is that I made my first, I'd have to look. I think that first Kickstarter is like 2015. I know I started making comics before my second daughter was born. She's 15 now. So that means I was
2013, February 2013.
2013 was what 13? Yeah. So I started making comics like 15 years ago. I was 33. I was 33, and at the time I was working in a factory. I was working with a pre-press for printing. They did pharmaceutical labels like that. I worked in newspapers before that. When I was a kid, I loved comics. I loved reading comics. I loved superheroes. I worked in a comic shop.
Oh, wow.
And in the 90s, I feel like comics got very bad. I say that generally speaking. I feel like they weren't fun anymore, which is probably a part of my psychoses. I was going to go be a fine artist. I was going to be a painter. I was working at the only art gallery in the area. And I was like, I don't have the chops for this. I'm not good enough to do that. It's never going to happen. So I took a bunch of graphic design classes, and I ended up doing pre-press for newspapers. And even that's, I think, probably completely digital and probably dying out now. It's completely different. I didn't think I was going to do this. I just did one comic for fun, just to be like, I never finished a comic. In all my 33 years, I drew a bunch of comics. I never finished a comic, a real comic, like 20 plus pages. Like not like an 8. I did mini comics and stuff, but and I was like, I'm going to finish one. And I ended up doing, don't do this. It's wrong. 180-page graphic novel called Legend of Thunder. And what I found while I was doing it is that it made me really happy. Also, probably starting so late and just having a lifetime of experiences and a lifetime of consuming pop culture and being critical about it in a way of always like, how could it have been better? How could it have been better? Was always like, man, I really like this, but I wish they wouldn't have done this. You know what I mean? Being very critical about things, but also like, I love it. I love bad stuff as much as I love good stuff, because bad stuff, you go, oh, don't do that. Like, that's what I know now is like, don't do that because it's hateful and it's bad. And like, that's how you know the difference between good and bad. I don't know what I would be doing. I'd probably still be working in some pre-press. I'd probably still be working in some factory, or I'd be working for a newspaper. I never would have known that I was good at it. When I was in college, I was a fine artist and I did pretty well. And I took 1 year of writing classes and I won some awards. And I was like, oh, I guess I'm good at it. But it never really sunk in that I might actually be good at it, as opposed to I was better than those people at that time. And I still don't know if that's true. But I think, like, I don't know if we're going to rank all the professional comic creators. I don't know where Kyle Starks lands in terms of like, they're so good. I don't know where that is, but I think it's because I'm so different and I'm unique, even though I'm not repeating anything. There's a feel and there's a voice and there's sort of a charm. I hope. And again, I hope they're fun. I think that's my priority. It's like, that was a good time more than anything else. I think that's the thing, is like, I stand out a little bit. I have a suspicion that if I was me, but let's say instead of comedy, I was doing sci-fi, I'd be more successful. I'd be more well-known. I'd be more liked, because comedy is sort of an ugly word in the direct market. Well-earned, and it's well-earned because people get sold false goods on funny stuff all the time, and it's not funny. So when you're not going to pick up a funny comic because you were told so many times something was funny that wasn't. So it's interesting, but I say that now, like, I'm 48. Who knows how many more years I have in my life? How many years before the industry is over me? They're done with me, because that's something that's going to happen eventually. And it's like, well, then what am I going to do? Guess what? I'm going to keep doing this. I'll probably be doing Kickstarters because it's the one thing, especially writing and drawing when I'm cartooning, it's the thing that makes me the happiest. Like, I'm happy in that moment, but I love telling stories, and I love, if I can amuse a person for 15 minutes of a year, that's a great legacy. If I can do it for an hour, that's an amazing legacy. So I'm always going to do it. The thing is, like, before 33, who knows? Like, I like to drink, and you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Now it's like, this is what I like to do. And probably if I was smart, I would have looked into Hollywood. Like, I get asked to do that stuff all the time. Like, I just don't. I like this. I like this thing that's a weird industry that's maybe dwindling, that's changing, that's problematic. It's hard to find. It's hard to sell. Nobody wants it. You know what I mean? But it's like, this is the thing that I like to do. And there'll always be some audience. You want the audience to get bigger, but I just like telling stories. And I think this is the best way for me to do it. I think sequential art is my best way to do it, because I know how to control those beats in a way that tells a story that I want to exist.
Amen. Yeah, I mean, you're preaching to the choir. Everything you said times 10. I want to ask really quick. I had a question about what got you into comics. You spoke a little bit about it, but according to your Wikipedia page, you had an uncle named Tony Stark that got you into comics.
Tony Starks.
Sorry about it. Tony Starks. That got you into comics. But he also, according to the article, it said that he also wrote I guess, for a comic price guide. I couldn't find any more information on that, and I'm very curious. What price guide did your uncle write for?
It was the big one, and I can't remember the name of it, but he had an article every month called Comics in a Flash. I remember that. Comics in a Flash by Tony Starks. He had a golden silver age mail business, I think, since high school.
Wow.
And here's the thing. I have to presume it's his fault because my parents would take us every week to the comic shop to pick up our pull list, right? Which was like the most basic, X-Men, Superman, Hulk, Justice League, Spider-Man. That was it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we got like I got like the most basic things. My parents didn't like reading. They certainly didn't read comics. Why were we reading comics? I have to assume that my uncle gave us comics because what else would you give your new nephews?
For sure.
And we were like, we like these a lot. Like, that has to be why. So I blame him for why I ever started reading comics. And it's probably true, though. I'm also from a point in time, though, where like if my mom, who my dad worked at factories, so he's never around. My mom is taking her two boys to the grocery store, like to shut them up, get them a comic, and they'll sit in the trolley and they'll read the comic and they'll be quiet. So that was very common to just be like, give them a comic to shut them up. And it's possible like that we just found that we really liked. I think there's a certain percentage of, I don't know what it is. I think there's a certain percentage of humans. So like, let's say it's 1 in 100. If you line up 100 humans and you give them all a comic book, some percentage goes, whether it's good or not, they go, oh, I like this. I like this. And I feel like having lost news agents, grocery stores, gas stations, we quit seeding the populace like we used to. And now you can see the percentage in manga fans. You know what I mean? Because they're like, oh, I like this. So I think we messed up by leaving all, like, not just being in everyone's face all the time, real cheap, like. But yeah, I think that's why I started reading comics. Like I said, I worked at the comic shop. The comic shop sold, it was used movies, or it was movie rental, used books, used music, baseball cards, pornography. So I had like access to anything I wanted. If I wanted to read a book, I could take it home. If I wanted to watch a movie, I could take it home. And when you're 18, 19, you have nothing better to do than to read and watch movies all the time.
Damn right.
So I just watched everything and I consumed everything. And I think that helps. You become this weird melting pot of all the things you like. And I'm leaning into it because I like those things. And I want there to be more of those things. So yeah, that's sort of my goal. But professionally, I did that book. Like I said, I did the Kickstarter. I liked it a lot. I used the money to go to conventions because people told me that's what you do. I was like, okay. I had a great factor. I had a great union job. Like, this was just a hobby that suddenly I was making money off of. So I did Ricky Thunder, which I liked a lot. And then I did Sex Castle, which I did as a Kickstarter because I like doing this so much. And I'll do the short version. The short version is at Heroes Con, which is my favorite show, which was where we met this year. There's a place called Mertz. It's my favorite. You got to go eat at Mertz if you go to Heroes Con. It's a soul food restaurant. It's down the road. It's walking distance. Yeah. Mertz is so good. And so you're always trying to find the group of people who are going to Mertz because you can't go there by yourself. It's not that kind of place. And the year that Sex Castle was a Kickstarter, the guy who sort of discovered me, because I wasn't promoting Rick and Thunder. I wasn't promoting it at all. It was literally just me achieving a goal before I started having children, or my second kid, just to knock something off this list. And I was like, oh, you going to Mertz? He's like, yeah, but I was like, you won't even know I'm there. I don't know what the but is. Don't worry. You won't even know there. I'm just going to eat. Like, literally, I just want to sit down and eat. I'll be quiet as a field mouse. And the but was that they were doing a podcast interview with Matt Fraction and Chip Zdarsky at the peak sex criminals. And we ended up, Chip worked at newspapers. It just turned into this thing. Like, we didn't even go to Mertz because Mertz was too long, which I knew was going to happen. The amateur hour. But we ended up going to this terrible pizza place. And so there's more talking. And Fraction was like, oh, I'll check out your book, because the other guy, he's like, oh, it's the best book of the year, which is a very nice thing to say about anyone's book. And so it's Sunday, and he never came by. And I was like, I should take him the book. Like, I hate leaving my table. You know what I mean? But I was like, I'll take him my book, because he did show interest and he's probably busy. So I go over to their table, and there's literally a line, like Sunday, because it's peak sex criminals, right? And it's him, Chip, and Kelly Sue at a table. So like, wow, it's a line for this table. And I'm like, I'm not waiting in that line, which is an asshole thing to do. But I was like, I got to get back to my table. So I knocked on the other table, this row of people, they all turned and looked. And I'm like, hey, you said you won my book. And Matt, he's like, oh yeah. He's like, how much is it? And I'm like, oh, it's nothing. I'm just glad you want to read it, buddy. And Matt Fraction stand up, and he points at me, and he says, pros get paid. He says, pros get paid, and he gave me $20. And I was like, that's sweet.
Damn.
And then what happened after that is that, and this is some speculation, is that his plane didn't take off on time, which is true. His plane didn't take off on time. And I think he was reading things that were in his bag. He was just reading things that were in his bag to kill time, and he liked Six Castle, so he started tweeting about it. And I sold like 6 books, like $120. You know what I mean? Like, I'm stoked.
Damn.
And maybe I messaged him. I was like, oh my God, thanks so much, dude. Like, $120 is a lot of money to me. And he's like, do you want to talk to Image? Which no one has to do. No one ever has to say those things. And he basically hooked me up with Image. Image was like, what do you want to do? I was like, I'd love to see this book in stores, this book that I made that I'm very proud of. And that started my entire career. Sex Castle got me Rick and Morty, and Rick and Morty is supposed to be 5 issues because I did a good job. It was 50 in 5 years, and everything leads to another thing. I've been very lucky. Lucky that someone would stick their neck out like that for me, especially it being Matt Fraction at that time. Maybe one of the 3 most important people in comics at the time. He's just a great human being. He's just all 3 of those guys, they're just really excellent human beings. But yeah, so that's like how I got started in comics, and then how I started making comics, and how I became a professional, I started at 33. I don't remember when Sex Castle came out. I think like 2016, but they closed that factory. They just closed it one day. They were like, Christmas, they closed it. And I was like, oh, we'll have to move to keep doing this someplace else. And my wife says, well, do you think that you can make comics for a living if you were just full-time comics? And at the time I said, I think I could do 3 Kickstarters a year, which would have been like 60,000 in theory, 45 to 60,000 before taxes, which is pretty good. But also 3 Kickstarters a year, like think about how much work I'm doing. Full trades, right? I was like, I think I could do 3 a year. And she's like, okay. She started cleaning bathrooms in a hospital, which is one of the worst jobs you can do. It's one of the worst jobs that anyone could do. She did it for a year so that we'd have insurance. And I got Rick and Morty. Rock Candy Mountain did well for me. Just a series of lucky, it all worked out at the time. But yeah, like you never know what's going to happen. You just try to do the things, be smart about it. You know what I mean? Like it wouldn't have worked if I was foolish about it. But yeah, I think I was true to the dream, and I had a great support system, and I've been very lucky. Over and over, though, I'll tell you, Matt Fraction, I'm always like, hey, I owe you one. Like, I owe you one. And he goes, well, the book was good. And I was like, yeah, but there's a lot of good stuff that no one sees. Jesse Lonergan's Faster. I don't think that's reached its goal yet on Kickstarter. Insane. Because I'm gonna tell you right now, that book is a gem. It's a gem.
Okay. All right. I can't wait to. All right.
You gotta check out Jesse. You gotta check it out.
Kyle, you know what phrase comes to mind when I think about you, and especially after this interview is
no, I do. It's clownish extrovert.
Well, according to half the bios I found online, "funny boy" is a phrase that is used to describe you.
Well,
which I think you wrote all the bios, but bang for your buck is I think as a phrase, and I mean that in the best way possible.
Yeah.
You put a lot of heart and soul and thought into what you put out into the world. Your passion is very obvious. Hell, even one question leads to, I
know.
You answered like 3 questions I could have had, but it was great. But really quick, on the topic, we brought up comic shops, you working at one, and, the importance of comic shops in today, especially with grocery stores and places that you used to be able to find comics no longer, et cetera, et cetera. Which brings me to one of my favorite segments of doing the podcast anytime I get to do an interview is the Short Box Friends and Family segment, which means I get to shut up for a minute and someone else gets to ask a question. In this case, it's the guy that runs and owns my comic shop, Mr. Ben Kingsbury of Gotham City Limit Comic Shop. Full disclosure, Gotham City Limit Comic Shop is the official sponsor of the Short Box. So Ben gets preferential treatment, but no one loves comics as much as Ben. And when I told him that I was having you on the podcast, he was like, I absolutely want to submit something for him. So let's cue up Ben and hear from him. Here we go.
Hey, Kyle, Ben K, representing Gotham City Limit down here in sunny Jacksonville, Florida. Thanks so much for taking some time to be here today. So you have worked on a ton of different comic properties over the last 15 plus years, but the one that resonates the most with me personally was the Peacemaker Tries Hard series. You were brilliant in continuing the new age Peacemaker character that DC has brilliantly reimagined. So that's where my question for you lies. If you had the opportunity to reimagine any character or characters in any comic universe, which characters would they be, and what kind of reimagining do you think you would go with? I'll leave you to answer. Thank you so much for all the amazing comics you make. We literally couldn't do it without you. And remember, Shortbox Nation, they'll always take it to the limit. Peace.
There we go. Big shout outs to Ben Kingsbury and Gotham City Limit.
What nice things that they said. So it's a really great question. And I bet a different creator would have an immediate, like 3 guys, right? Like, here's the 3 guys that I would like to revamp. And I'll tell you what, I feel differently about it than that. I'll tell you why. So here's the question. Whenever it seems that the question is like, oh, if you could write anyone, who would it be? Is what we get asked a lot, right? Meaning, who in the big 2 we would do. And my answer is, I don't think about it. Because if I come up with a great Ant-Man story, I love Hank Pym. I love a science adventure, Hank Pym the most, neither here nor there. If I come up with a great Ant-Man story and I pitch it and they say no, it's gone. Because Ant-Man requires all of the mythology of Ant-Man. Like, I'm thinking about those things. So I try not to think about those characters in that way, though I'm a comic book fan. I do have my favorites. I think there are characters who I would do a good job on. Peacemaker is the number 1. As soon as someone suggested it, I was like, oh, big, dumb, violent idiot trying to find a better way, like trying to be a better person. That's everything I do. Like, everything I do is big, dumb idiot with feels. And then when I got offered Lobo, I was like, oh, that's the same thing. Perfect. I love a big, dumb, violent idiot trying to be better, or in Lobo's case, not trying to be better. Like, that's part of what's great. So in one hand, my answer is I don't really think about it like that. My second thing is that when I do a character, and we'll say Lobo, because Peacemaker, no one cared about Peacemaker before the show. Mm-hmm. No one did, which is fair. Sorry, Peter Kupperberg. That's just the way it is. Sorry, comedian who didn't even get to be in the Watchmen movie. Is that when I do these characters, what I want to do is I want to do the best version of that character that the fans like, and a story that I would like that they're in. I want, when that Lobo, which again, I don't think a lot of people read my Lobo book for this reason or that reason. I think they thought it would just sell based on the name. I think it did pretty good. I think it sold out. But a lot of people are like, oh, if they ever do a best of, your thing should be in it. That's what I want. I don't want to change these characters. Like Rick and Morty, I didn't want to change Rick and Morty. I didn't want to change Peacemaker. I want to give people the thing that they like and them to be happy about it, but I also want it to be a story that I enjoy. That being said, I don't think I would change anyone, though I think like the James Gunn school of that is so smart because he takes a character that no one cares about and then you can do whatever you want with them. So it's like, really, the answer is, I don't know, I guess like leapfrog. You know what I mean? You could figure out something. But if there's a character in a way that I think that I could make them what they should be, which is more visible and more interesting and still be themselves, I would love a shot at Martian Manhunter. I would love a shot at Martian Manhunter. Is that the guy I think I do the best job at? No. I mean, I did Peacemaker. I did Lobo. Clearly, Guy Gardner is the next guy in that window of big, dumb, violent idiots that I should do. But I feel like Martian Manhunter has been mishandled his entire existence. And I know Dennis Camp is doing a good job with Absolute, but I feel like Martian Manhunter has never been treated the way that he deserves to be. And a lot of that is because I'm a Giffen to Matthias, zealot, because I love JLI so much, and he was my favorite in JLI. But I also love, like, he serves a clear role, and that role is never highlighted. I don't know. I think that I could fix Martian Manhunter in popular culture, and that's the only character I think like that. There's a bunch of dudes who I'm just fans of. Anyone who is anywhere near comedy, I think I'd be like, why haven't I been asked to do Deadpool? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Why wouldn't I? So anyone who's a little bit funny, anyone who's a little bit silly, Nort, like we would love to do something with Nort. D-Man is maybe my favorite, like not hyperbolic, not a bit. Like I love D-Man. I'm a big Grunwald fan. And I think what he did with D-Man is so interesting and it's done in a way that no one cares. But if you read, like, D-Man's great. Like, he's a great dude. Even from the Burn Thing stuff when he first appeared, there's guys like that. I always love the little guys, like just like Gunn. Like, give me the little guys that no one cared about, because generally speaking, they get to be more of a character and more of sort of a niche character, and no one messes with them. Like, they're allowed to be more human, and that makes them more interesting. I said leapfrog earlier because I I had Spider-Man, that Spider-Man run, which was terrible. But at one point, like just this kid gets the leapfrog suit. Do you remember this? It's like a redheaded kid found the villain leapfrog suit, and he's like, "I'm going to be a good guy. All I can do is jump." You know what I mean? Like all you can do is jump, kid. I guess you can kick good, but he's like, it's just this kid who, like, I see that and I go, oh, I see a lot of potential, because I think it's more relatable, because those characters almost always get to be more human. And if you look at like Suicide Squad with James Gunn, he took characters like, we'll say Javelin, who none of us ever cared about. Maybe there's one Javelin fan, but I doubt it. And just a little bit, just by letting him be a real person, we go, oh, Javelin's kind of cool. You know what I mean? Like Rocket Raccoon's 1,000 times, no offense to Mignola, and I can't remember who the writer was on that original run, but because no one cares. And he's like, look, I'm gonna give him this full life, and I think you can do that more with the little guys. So I always like the little guys, but if it was a big guy, it's probably Martian Manhunter. Just because I think he deserves better.
Well said. And you know what? Speaking about that, I think I recently seen a clip or interview with James Gunn where they were asking him like his favorite, like like C-list character, and he mentioned that Polka Dot Man was in the Suicide Squad movie that he directed, and he said something to the effect that he like went on Google and typed in like who is the worst DC character out there, and Polka Dot Man was one of the results, and he was like, bet. That's when
it was like Condiment King and Polka Dot Man, and he's like Condiment King can't do it. Like it's a great which isn't James Gunn. It was different, but like Kite Man, like look at the change that Kite Man's made, because ha 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 Kite Man, no one cares. But dude, if you give him an ounce of pathos, that's a real dude suddenly. And the reason why we really love, I say this broadly, and I think, and I don't want to disparage the big two, but I think they have moved too far away from pushing character like they did say in the 80s, is that the reason why we love Peter Parker is not because he has a cool power and a cool suit, right? We don't love Tony Stark's because he has a cool suit and he's rich. Like we like Tony, he's different now, but my Tony Stark's, not my uncle, was always the guy who was his own worst enemy, who was trying so hard to overcome that, who had his demons, but they would never get in the way of him doing the right thing. And also, he's lying about it. He's trying to keep up a facade on top of it. He has a lie he's trying to keep real. That's what we like. It's not who they fought are. So those little characters, it's like they always get to do that. They always get to just be that little thing, are nothings at all, are complete nothings, right? And I think that's why like guys like James Gunn, who are really story guys, and I'm a story guy, those are the ones we like because we see the potential, because that potential hasn't been touched. So Condiment King was number one, and he was like, well, there's no way on that.
He's like, I didn't mean complete shit.
Yeah, not the
So really quick, I want to give Ben a shout out really quick, because if not for his question about your Peacemaker series, which I'm actually reading for the first time, also on Hoopla. Hoopla's got some great.
Hoopla's the best. Read on Hoopla.
Agreed. So I'm reading that on Hoopla as well. But thanks to Ben's question, it made me realize that Peacemaker Season 2 debuts this week. Kyle, for the listeners, we're recording on Monday, August 18th. Peacemaker premieres this Thursday, August 21st, and I feel like I've been waiting forever, and I can't believe I almost let it slip. So I can't wait to finish reading Peacemaker Tries Hard and watch the new season. I'm going to do a hard pivot, and before we wrap up, we talked about before we hit record some of your convention appearances. You have a really great website, by the way. I love that it's a centralized place for me to like find out everything I need to about you. I was perusing the website today, and you had a section like, hey, where I'll be at, and you have all of your convention lists there. You've already been to 8 conventions this year. You got 3 more lined up for the rest of the year. And then it got me thinking about, well, you brought up how we first met this year at HeroesCon. I got a super sick Slick Rick commission sketch, which I absolutely fucking love and adore. Paid a very fair price for it. So if you're going to be at New York Comic Con, or what are some of the other ones you'll be at?
Memphis, Rose City.
Thank you so much. Yeah. Highly recommend getting a sketch and or commission from Kyle.
Please.
This is a long-winded wind up. Bear with me. But Kyle, on your website, you have a store, and I spent $10 today buying 2 more digital download comics. One of them was called Commission Lines, the underdrawings of Kyle Starks, which, if I'm to explain this correctly, this is a collection of like pre-commission rough drawing sketches that you've done throughout the years, which I think is, it was $5. I was like, absolutely. It's a digital comic. Love that. With you being a convention veteran at this point, and also having done so many commissions, what are some of your favorite commissions that you've done? And I'm assuming, and is it safe to say that people like to test how crazy they can go with some of the requests? You being like the funny guy, the comedic guy, did you get zany or outlandish requests for commissions? What's some of the craziest ones you've gotten?
The craziest ones I say no to. The craziest ones I'll say no to. I don't really. I do feel like there are people who were like, it is a weird test, but not as much anymore. There's like certain characters I get asked to draw a lot that I don't understand why they ask me.
Like
notably, Doctor Doom. I
Oh, wow.
don't think I do a very good Doctor Doom, but I get asked a lot. Thing I get asked a lot. Things hard, but I think I do okay with them. I think my favorites are maybe on the site or on like my promotion. I've done like a bunch of X-Men stuff. I've been doing a lot of Nightcrawler, and I like Nightcrawler. I like to draw Nightcrawler. He's fun. Craziest, dude. Whenever people ask me about that, I think about the ones where people ask me to do stuff that were next level porn, like they were just adjacent to porn. And I always think of someone was like, "Would you draw Summer from?" Because I've done a billion Rick and Morty commissions. Like, could you draw Summer as a cat lady? And I was like, nope. Like, that's not my job. That's someone, you can find someone that's their job. It's not my job. So I can't think of any crazy ones. Those are always, sometimes people are like, well, you do mashups where it's like this, because I kind of draw Rick and Morty adjacent to, like we have very similar aesthetics, which is why they asked me to do the book, which is why I did a good job on the book for so long. Sometimes like, will you draw this character as Rick and Morty? I was like, that's kind of fun. I'd rather draw Kyle Stark's things. I've had a lot of fun ones. It'd be easier for me to do the ones like these weren't super fun. And even those I can't think of because they're few and far between. If it's something I don't want to do, I just will say I'd rather not do that. I don't think I do a good job, or because I do have, like you said earlier, like I think like my aesthetic for that type of thing, it works a certain way. Like I like a character or however many characters on a blank background. And I think that's why my stickers look good, because that's basically what they are. It's just the figure. I think it's interesting to see me do a depiction, and I think they always look a little fun and a little happy, even if they're not fun or happy. Like I always draw Daredevil happy, always. My Daredevil's happy. He's not going through it today. Maybe yesterday, maybe tomorrow.
You're drawing Daredevil from the Mark Waid run, where he had a pretty good life.
He's okay. Well, today, or you know what? Maybe he saw like some birds having sex or something. He thought it was funny. I don't know. He's having a good day today. So like that's my preference. Sometimes people will be like, "Will you do this very complicated thing?" It's like it won't look good if I do it. And having that awareness. Also, I don't charge that much, so it's like I'm not taking an arm or leg. I think it's a very fair price for what you get, and they're fun. I can't think of a crazy one, but they're all like they're all over the internet. Like you can find them if you want.
Look, I'm telling you, if you got $5 to spare, this digital collection of Kyle Stark's, it's called Commission Lines. It's on his website in the store. Best $5 I've spent all month. I will say that wholeheartedly. I'm actually like kind of scrolling through the book while I'm chatting, and I mean the stuff in here is great. You've got obviously Batman and Robin. You got an Akira sketch. You've got Venom is on here. You got a Shaolin Cowboy. Like there's some deep cuts on here for sure. But one of my favorite ones, speaking about podcast friends, you did one of Brad and Lisa Gullickson from Comic Book Couples Counseling, and I think that is awesome. Yeah,
I think it came out really nice. I think I'm supposed to draw their bird for him, and I keep forgetting. Maybe I put that on the list. I'll put that on the list.
But I guess
for what I want to do a pitch. So I have a Gumroad, which is gumroad.com. I think Kyle Starks. If you put Gumroad, Kyle Starks will come up. You can get all of those things. You can get commission. You're like, but I just paid $5. You can commission lines. You can be the Luis Sprouse I mentioned earlier. Almost everything I've done digitally for $10. You can get everything I've done. I think commission lines is $5 on there too, but you can get everything for $10. I have other digital stuff on my site too, which I like a lot. I think there's a thing with Stabby who used to be my avatar. But you can get like Legend of Ricky Thunder for 10. Like it's in that package. Like it's for me, it's older stuff. It's stuff from when I was starting, and then commission lines and like Luis Sprouse was $10. You get a ton of stuff. So it's on Gumroad. Gumroad's cool. I like Gumroad. I think we should be doing more digital stuff in a smarter way. So.
That's what I appreciate about you, is that you're looking out for folks like me that have way too much shit in their house already. And I'm like, I'll support if there's a digital tier or a reward or version. So I appreciate you looking out for me. I brought up a comic conventions, not only mention your commission stuff, but one of the last questions I got, as a comic convention veteran, what advice do you have for existing and aspiring comic creators that know they need to be at conventions, they need to have that FaceTime with comic fans, etc., and all of that? Like, what advice do you have for them? Because so far you've been nailing the advice in terms of like practical and like very detailed. So I'm curious to hear what is it about comic conventions people should know.
Conventions are tough, man. When I did Legend of Ricky Thunder, which was my first book, now I used the profits from my Kickstarter to pay for the tables and the hotels. So I was always working from a place of everything's profit, right?
Mm-hmm.
I always did pretty well, and I only had two things then. I think the most important things, especially when you're starting out, and whenever I have a slow show, because I did Rick and Morty for 5 years. I'm in a different place than I was when I started. I go, you should remember who you were 5 years ago, because I'm mad. I'm mad at the show because it's slow. It's like, it's your fault. It's kind of your fault, but it's not. I think the most important things are make it look like a store as much as you can. Have an interesting layout. You got to have a banner or something that has your name on it. It has to look interesting, and you have to engage as many people as possible, but you need to do it in a sincere and enthusiastic way, which is to say, if you made something you love, you're excited to talk about it. You know what I mean? Like, there's, even now, it used to be when people walk by, because Legend of Ricky Thunder was a wrestling comic, I'd be like, a wrestling show, but hey, you like wrestling? You want to talk about wrestling? I have a wrestling comic. Let me tell you about it. It's cool because it's this dumb idea, and I think it's fun, and maybe you like it because you're a wrestling fan. And I would do that with everybody, and that version works. Like, that Carney guy, that Carney promoter guy works. If you're the guy who goes, hey, do you like reading? Hey, hey, do you like comics? It's a weird thing where you're doing it. Yeah, it's a weird, like, it looks like you're trying to, like, hassle them. It's different, but engaging people, listen, you made something great. You should be proud of it. And you made something that's meant to be consumed. I assume my stuff is. My stuff's meant to be read and enjoyed, and I want people to read and enjoy it because I made this thing that I think is really fun and enjoyable. So I think that's the thing, and that is super hard. I mean, social stuff it's easier to do a Kickstarter. You know what I mean? It's easier to do these other things because they're just things you're doing in your unfinished basement in Indiana. It's easier to do those things and be like, oh, you know what? You have to meet other people. Like I said, the nature of this industry is there's only a couple forms of promotion. There's only a couple forms of marketing that absolutely exist. The retailers sell it for you. That's hard. Like, that's hard. We're all trying to get retailers to like us. We're all trying really hard. You go on podcasts, and you hope that you do a good job because it also is a very social interaction. And your hope is people go, oh, he seemed cool. If he's cool, his work's probably cool. And like, yeah, if you like this, for whatever reason, you're going to like my books. And it's the same as the show. Like, the show is the other form of marketing, is that, but you have to hand sell it there. And I think that's a talent. For people who are just artists, there's ways to just be more of an artist and like more of a performative thing. Like, I'm drawing, and can you see me drawing, and I have cool art. But as like a storyteller, you have to sell the work, and it's hard. And then like now it's like I do shows and people are like, oh, you don't have this book. And I'm like, man, I got to make choices. I got to make choices at these things, and I never make the right choice. And this year's these last couple months are interesting because like it's so, like, I used to just get comps because I was doing image books or I was doing Kickstarters. I always had one book I could bring a ton of. And now it's like, well, they cost me so much. It's hard for me to get books. I have to make choices. And I think for New York, it's going to be a lot of like Rock Candy Mountain, Old Head. I'm doing an Ash Can for Wrestle Heist, and a little bit of the other stuff because I can bring a lot of Old Head to New York because I have it. I can bring a lot of Rock. I can't bring a lot of Where Monsters Lie because they cost me X dollars a book, and I don't have it. Yeah. So yeah, the thing is, like, I really want my table to feel like a store with a really interesting owner. You know what I mean? Like, I want that to be the experience. Where it's like, oh, that guy was cool. Yeah, he had a nice little shop. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's the experience I want people to have, and it's curated with great, fun, good things that people would want, hopefully.
You know, speaking about that store approach, like, treating it as if like someone's walking into a really nice store, you're the store owner, and you're selling things. You brought up Matt Kent, being a good friend of yours. Yeah, Matt Kent at not this year's Heroes Con, but I think
last year.
The one prior, like, his setup was crazy. It really felt like you were walking into like some weird oddities store.
Yeah, Matt. He's my very good friend. We've kind of briefly had this conversation, and he went more, and he won't do it now because it's too much work and he doesn't need it. But he had this idea for something that he would have done. He's like, what if it was like this? I'm like, that's really cool. We've had this talk, and like, again, with social media, with the connection to the audience and finding an audience and what is comics, and like if we're musicians, right? And the comic is the album, is a convention the performance. And if it's the performance, should we be doing something? And Matt Kent was like, I'm bored and I want to do something. So he made this, he's doing like typewriter commissions. And I kind of joke, especially when they're slow, I was like, what if I was doing like a bit the whole time I was here? What if this was a candy shop? I had candy and, you know what I mean? And I have like the hat on and I'm like, hey, welcome to Comics and Candy. But here's the thing, that's funny once, you know what I mean? Because I don't want to sell candy. I want to sell comic books. I want to sell my comic books. But we think about like, if this is the performance, and we're always kind of talking about it, it's like, well, it doesn't really, like, what if one did, I'm saying things and people are going to be like, I can say it because I know it won't work. What if I did a commission happy hour every day? What if I did a commission happy hour and it's like, listen, from this time, from 3 to 4, I will do $10 commissions, as many as I can do in an hour. It's interesting, right? But this makes it a performance. It means you come to my table at a certain time. So I think everyone's going to steal that from me now. They remember who said it first. I don't think it'll work though, because the people would have to remember what time it is. There's all these issues, right? There's issues, but we both think about that, which is why Matt did that. And I've seen other people do similar interesting things, where you filled out forms and put them in a box. It's like, that's all fun. But I know he's like, what if you had like an office and people are like actually coming in and sitting down? It's like just one at a time. You'd only come in one at a time. It's interesting, but the truth of it is that really the book is the performance. You know what I mean? Really, the book is the performance. It's not the album. And meeting us is just meeting us, is really the truth. But that being said, I think if you're a me and you know I'm the product as much as my books are, I want people to enjoy seeing me at shows. I want people to want to come see me at shows and talk to me about wrestling, or talk to me about basketball, or talk to me about this character that only them and I like. Like, I love that. Or to talk about my work. Geez, what an amazing thing that would be. But you need to exist in conventions, which is the hardest part. You want to exist in a way that not just people who like comics and you, but people just walking by will go, oh. And that's the hardest part. Like, that's really the hardest thing. Until you're a big enough name that just your name is good enough, having something in between is the hardest part. Having Rick and Morty was the best thing that ever happened to me at conventions, 100%, because everybody wanted it. Everybody, like grandmas wanted it because they knew their grandson liked it.
Yeah.
And if you don't have that, if you don't have 4 Batmans, if you don't have 4 Spider-Mans, so you know what I mean? Like, look, I'm the Spider-Man. Like, it's tough. It's tough. So you got to kind of yap at him a little bit. You got to give him the yapping.
Kyle, when we started this interview and you had Dr. Kyle Starks, comic PhD after your name, I was questioning the validity of that title, but I can say after almost 2 hours, I believe that you've got this comic thing on lock. Very, very great points were brought up. I feel like you gave a lot of free gems, and I think with that being said, and you gave a lot of free gems, and I feel like if you listen to this entire interview and you didn't learn something new today, you might have to go back to comic book school, because you just got schooled by Dr. Kyle Starks. And with that being said, ladies and gents, this is the Shortbox Podcast, and we just finished talking to Kyle Starks about his life, career, and his new book / Kickstarter campaign. Kickstarter campaign, Where Monsters Lie, Dead End. You've also got Devil on My Shoulder, which will come out through Dark Horse on November 26th. I have links to both of those in the show notes, so if you want to support the Kickstarter campaign, which you absolutely should. We just spent 2 hours talking about how much of a great deal and value and how much passion and love Kyle puts into his projects. So support the Kickstarter campaign. Pick up Devil on My Shoulder #1 when it comes out. I have links to Kyle's website as well as social media in the show notes. Do yourself a favor, give those a follow and like to follow and stay up to date with what Kyle's got going on. Kyle, this has been great. Do you have any parting words or shameless plugs before we wrap up?
Yeah, Kickstarter, Where Monsters Lie, Dead End. We have a bunch of catch-up options if you never read Where Monsters Lie. Also, Hoopla. I think everything I have is on Hoopla. We love that. If I did a good job and you read it on Hoopla for not free because you're supporting your library, which we also love. If I did a good book, if I did it good enough, hopefully you want to own a copy of it. That's like the wish, right?
Said.
Or a commission of a character. Or I think if it's good, we want to own a piece of it. I think that's the nature of us as fans. So I love Hoopla. I support that wildly. Check it out. Like I said, the Gumroad, I pay what you want options on things. Like, don't pay anything. That's fine. That's why it's pay what you want. That's the trick. But I think if you like it, you'll support those creators. Just like we were saying at the very beginning with like Patreon. Like, this is a free service you do as a podcast. They don't have to pay to get it. well, reward them for doing something nice. And I think if Hoopla is a great way to read a lot of work. If I like something and I read a lot of stuff on Hoopla, I get it because I want to own it. I want to read it later, and I want to support them because I liked it. So we support Hoopla. I'm the Kyle Starks everywhere except for Patreon, where I'm Kyle Starks. $5 sticker club, 2 sticker clubs a month. We're doing this Kickstarter. You can catch up real easy. We have real cheap PDF or digital, whatever. If you've never read it, and most people didn't read volume 2, so don't feel bad. We'll get you caught up. It's gonna be a lot of fun. We're making fun comics. If you like any of those, you like other stuff. We got a lot of good stuff. Dude, you gotta tell me to stop talking at some point. I'll just keep going forever.
Look, you are a scholar, obviously, and a gentleman as well. I can't wait to see you at New York Comic Con. I'll have links to all of that in the show notes. And you know what? I am extending a invite to come on the show later on when you got more projects in the way.
October, you'll want me back. Big news in October, you'll want me back.
Damn right. All right, here we go. All right, and with that being said, hey, listeners, thank you so much for hanging out. You guys are great. Here's my outro. I'll catch you around next week probably. All right, peace.